temple of Kom Ombo, although a comparatively new temple by ancient Egyptian standards, it has a mystery. Well, it probably has more than one mystery, but I'm going to talk to you about one particular mystery, which is the mystery of the two gods. So Kom Ombo is a name which I think is a Latin version of the original name, but it means something like mound of gold or hill of gold. But its original ancient Egyptian name was something like Nabiet, and what it meant was city of gold. So this name in itself is a mystery, but this isn't the mystery that we're going to talk about today. But yeah, it's pretty interesting as well. Anyway, let's talk about the age of the temple. Apparently, it's relatively new compared to most from ancient Egypt because it was constructed during the Ptolemaic dynasty, which is approximately 180 to 47 BCE. Some additions were also made to it during the Roman period, but there are a few hints that this temple may actually have been built on top of a much earlier temple, and that's mainly due to them finding some blocks that have been reused, and these blocks were dated to an earlier epoch. But I don't plan to discuss the dating of the temple much either. But even so, I do predict that evidence will be found maybe under one of the foundation stones or somewhere like that, that will provide a date for multiple previous iterations of this temple, covering from the Middle Kingdom and going back much further. But hey, I'm not going to get into that right now. So, the Temple of Kom Ombo. It has an unusual double temple dedication. So that means it's dedicated to two gods. That in itself is not terribly mysterious. The mysterious part is that these two gods were enemies. So why ever would they put them together? So let's consider the thought processes that might have gone into creating a temple to two gods who completely hated each other. So the two gods were Sobek and Horus, and they were clearly enemies. Horus was a supporter of his father Osiris, while Sobek supported Set. So why build a temple to them both? Oh, in case you don't know, Sobek is the crocodile-headed god, and Horus, the more famous falcon-headed god. So at Kom Ombo, we've got these two enemies sharing a temple. But there are four possibilities as to why that might be. Now, the first possibility is that the ruler of the time somehow wanted to punish the two gods by forcing them together. Now, I think that's probably unlikely, but, got to list it out. Second possibility, which I think is the more popular belief, is that they wanted to make the two gods play nice with each other, so that the people could, in fact, benefit from the strength of both gods. So one being stronger in war, while the other stronger in fertility, etc. Or they had a lot of other attributes, but if you could combine those two gods, the attributes of both, you'd have a pretty strong lot of characteristics. Anyway, the third option, which I do think is unlikely, is that the history or mythology around the gods is somehow wrong. We've got it wrong. And these two were not really enemies. But yeah, I don't think that's particularly likely. Now, the fourth option, which is the option that I believe it is that the temple was originally built for one of these gods. And after its destruction, it was rebuilt. And when it was rebuilt, it was decided to dedicate it to another god because another god had gained in popularity. And so, not wanting to offend the first god, they just put them together. In my mind, that's the more likely scenario, but I would be interested to know what other people think. My next point may be unrelated, but maybe it isn't, because it gets further complicated by the concept that the people of this area who built this temple had a bit of an ongoing feud with the people of Dendera. And for the reason, well, I have my suspicions, but this bad blood was serious. And I think it had something to do with a particularly unpleasant habit that the people of Dendera had of hunting crocodiles, which was really not acceptable to the people of Kom Ombo. But hey, that's just a guess on my part. And in case you're wondering, I did actually see a crocodile while I was in Egypt. So even the Ptolemaic and Roman era coins from the area of Kom Ombo have crocodiles on them. So you can get a fairly strong feeling that Sobek was pretty important to the people of that area. While on the subject of Sobek, there is an incredibly beautiful and absolutely enormous statue of Sobek located in the Luxor Museum. It is stunning, and if you want to see it, check out my episode on the visit to the Luxor Museum, because it really is quite beautiful. If a crocodile can be beautiful, this is beautiful. Anyway, we may have solved one mystery. Well, maybe. But what else is there about Kom Ombo? What makes Kom Ombo so special? Why should you go visit it, in fact? Well, there are lots of interesting things about Kom Ombo. But one of the things that I find particularly interesting is that there are images of medical instruments. You know, things used by doctors or surgeons as well, like scalpels, forceps, scissors, medicine bottles, all kinds of things like that. So you see the picture at the moment is the one that has all the medical stuff on it. And I have seen in other temples other medical instruments here and there, so it wasn't totally uncommon. This is also an indication that Kom Ombo was probably a place of healing, a place people went to if they had a medical problem. And it also provides further verification that the dynastic Egyptians had a lot of very valuable knowledge, much of which we are really only getting to grips with today, because it is only today that we can compare these things to what we currently have and go, oh yeah, that's forceps. Oh gosh, look, there's a scalpel. So, we probably could have done that a few hundred years ago as well, but it's much easier today to see the parallels. So the only other thing that is particularly interesting about Kom Ombo is the well that they have there. But once again, I have seen wells in other places around Egypt, but this is a nice looking well. So I'll leave you with that picture, and that's pretty much it for Kom Ombo.